Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the Chamber of Commerce Coffee with a Candidate. We are fortunate right now to have with us current District 2 Vice Mayor James Maness, and he is asking for your vote to be the mayor of Mount Juliet. That's an open seat, and he announced early on that he would be seeking that position and has been out in the community, and we have him with us today. Good morning, James, and I'd like to ask if you just take a few minutes and introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit about your campaign and your family, things you'd like for us to know.
Definitely, Mark. First of all, thanks for having me on here today and this opportunity to get out here and talk about our wonderful city. You know, a little bit about me. I grew up in West Tennessee out on the family farm, and my mother, she was a small business owner. She owned a small bookstore, so got to learn at an early age, some of the struggles that the small business owners go through. And, through going up through that, the family farm, learning the work, getting out there at an early age. My father had me filling out my taxes at age 12. So I get a Social Security statement starting back when I was 12 years old. Sometimes when I'm on the trail, people like to ask me how old I am. So I like to think I got to keep some of those young looks, as a result of that honest work there at an early age. But, my ties to Mount Juliet began, in elementary school. I had an art teacher. She was from here. She'd always talk about drawing, the influence the area had on her. And, we'd always say, we're going to go out there to that Mount Juliet and see that mountain someday when we get older. And 2001, we got the opportunity. We were looking at the city, looking at moving out here. We actually winded up making the move in 2004. And, it was a 2-lane highway at the time, cutting right through the middle of the city. There was a sign up that said, coming soon, live, work, play. Looked like it could use a little touch-up paint at the time. It had been there so long. So we kind of wondered what all that was about. And, Mark, I never thought I'd get involved with city government. I attended a rezone meeting for some stuff going on in my neighborhood. And, we had a great time working with the city, working with the developers that were working. And we come in there and we stood up and said, we have no objections. And the developer said, they have no objections. And I think at the time it was Mayor Elam says, I don't think that happens very often. And, everything went very smoothly. So a great first experience. And then shortly after that, the red light cameras were installed in the city, and I never got a ticket, but there's the principle of the cameras. Those were the cameras, unlike the cameras we have today. Those cameras were turning, I like to say, honest citizens into criminals, whereas the current cameras are catching the criminals to keep them away from the honest citizens. So got involved with that, decided to run for office, got elected in 2010 for the District 2, and I've been honored to serve that district ever since. Got the cameras removed early on. We had an issue that had been going on since 1986 with the fire service in the community, and we'd worked with the county. They wound up eventually passing a resolution saying if Mount Juliet does really anything to improve its level of service, we're going to remove the service that we're offering to the city. So we kind of had a standoff for a little while, and it was clear that nothing was going to move forward working through the county, and wound up sponsoring an ordinance which reestablished the Mount Juliet Fire Department, and have been very involved with that area ever since, and very involved with our community since then. And you ask about running for mayor. There's a lot of projects from the transportation area to public safety that I just really want to see get completed, and get some things completed for this community that we've been working on for a while, and ultimately give back a community to my children that they're going to choose to live in too.
Great comments. Thank you. And we're glad you decided to follow that North Star and come to Mount Juliet like so many others of us have done over the years.
Definitely.
As you mentioned, some of those probably in recent years, there's transportation growth, certainly fire service. Can you kind of expand on where we are right now and what resources it's going to take and what the need is going to be as our fire and police departments need to grow? How are they going to grow to serve our needs 5 and 10 years down the road?
Well, sure. And start with the police department. I think we have a model police department here in this community. We've seen a lot of stuff, going on nationally that's reflected on police departments. And I've said from the beginning, I think any police department out there would be wise to try to model some of the things that Mount Juliet's doing for in terms of transparency, getting things out, the engagement in the community. They do a wonderful job. I've had the pleasure and the honor to ride along with them on several occasions to just see what some of the needs are the officers are facing, just what they're encountering out in the field, what their day-to-day activities are like. And it's just been a pleasure to meet those guys and get out there and see it, even from infrastructure. Talking about that, one of the things that doesn't get a lot of love sometimes our sewer system, and I appreciate even when the guys would take me out on that and just show the challenges that we have in the city and the tremendous amount of responsibility that they have taking care of things. And that leads us into the other side of public works, which is our infrastructure, specifically talking about transportation. We'll see very soon the signing for the letting on the bridge widening over the interstate there on Mount Juliet Road, which has been a bottleneck for us for years. We'll see that one happening very quickly. We'll see progress happening on that. But that Mark, that's not a project that just happens overnight. It takes several years of planning to get that in place, talking to our public works director. And, we're just going through some of the steps and what it takes to get a project like that. We're talking about things like Old Lebanon Dirt Road widening. And, he was letting me know that's going to be one of the biggest projects the city's taken on by itself in terms of right-of-way acquisition, in terms of the amount of involvement it's just going to take from the city. We got the funding in place for that. And it's just a point of getting to the place to where we're ready to move forward with securing that right-of-way and getting moving on that. And that project is going to go as quickly as the Board of Commissioners is going to commit the funds to it once the right-of-way starts on it. So really pleased to see that, working with the state now with South Mount Juliet Road, widening that to Central Pike, which is the limits of the city there. But the biggest thing that we've got, in my opinion, for as transportation on the horizon is Tidewood Providence Central, which is, a project that you were very involved with as far as bringing it before the Board of Commissioners and speaking in support of that. That project's contributing, the top number estimates is like $11 million in infrastructure improvements to the city through right-of-way, road construction. It's estimated that once that interchange is built there with the interstate, it's going to take 60% of the traffic out of the Providence area and route that over to the interstate, putting a high capacity diverging diamond in place. But in this case, that's the developer that's contributing about $11 million worth of improvements for road construction, right-of-way, moving those things like Adams Lane, which is too close to the interstate that has to be relocated. They're taking that all on. And 11 million may not sound like a lot in a transportation project, but when you're sitting in a city that's got a $16 to $17 million on average general fund on it, that's a huge chunk that's being removed from the taxpayers on it. And the other thing I think was fire you talked about. We've got 9 guys being added on the budget tonight on second reading, and that's going to put 3 per shift, which is huge for us. We've got a fire department now that's averaging 7 per shift maximum staffing. And, NFPA standards is calling for 16 for a single structure fire. The last fire we had on Lebanon Road, we were able to get 13 bodies on there, and that's 7 with Mount Juliet Fire, 2 chiefs, 3 volunteers, and we got 1 mutual aid from WEMA, so we brought 13 on staff. Having those 3 guys there would have gotten us to the minimum NFPA standards on that thing. So we're working really hard to get there, and there's some great benefits for our community. Far as once we get to that point, we look at better standards from our ISO ratings. Instead of the city of Mount Juliet being tied for the last in the county in terms of ISO, bringing us up there and getting us just right behind Lebanon, which has had their fire department in place for years.
Well, I know you were excited to finally see the culmination of a couple of years worth of work, at least with the groundbreaking for a new fire station to serve the folks on the north end of town.
Yes, sir. Definitely excited to get that.
How about that?
Yeah, we were very excited to get the groundbreaking going on that. That had been working for a while. The people up in the north side of town, had really been waiting on that. And that, Mark, that's going to benefit. That's going to benefit the community as a whole across the board, whether it's the north or the south. Take back to that fire we had on Lebanon Road there. when that fire took place, I mean, we had everything that we had as a city committed. Part of WEMA committed to it, and when there was a wreck there on Mount Juliet Road, we were able to, the county had to cover us, which basically committed everything other than Gladeville on this side of 109 to just 2 incidents. So I don't think it gets a lot of talk, but it's really a major concern of mine for this community going forward.
Well, certainly glad to see that moving forward. And I know you've been extremely instrumental in that. Kind of a question that we've asked most of the candidates, and interesting, and I'm sure you've given them some thought, but if you were to take over as the mayor, what does a first 100 days or 3 months, what's that look like for you? You clearly have some things that you would like to see accomplished, and Mount Juliet city manager type government, your vote would be still just one vote. So there's
Definitely
consensus building, and nobody can just run anything, but what would you see the emphasis, and what would be your point of attack in the first few months of your administration?
Well, the first thing I'd want to do is take emergency services off the table as an issue in this community. We make some simple changes from a legislative standpoint that I think with a fresh set of eyes on some stuff that we can get done easily, and just remove that as even an issue for this community. Of course, the other main thing is transportation. And when I say transportation, I had a conversation again with the public works director, and I said, is there anything we can do in terms of more engineers, more funding? And he's like, it just takes time to work things through the process and the system on that thing. But I think one thing we can do is be more proactive in communications to let people know where we are on those things. Spend more time meeting as a board to make sure that we're working to capture those things, capture those points. I live in one part of town. I may not see exactly what's going on in the other thing. Get those things together, get the community input on it. The other thing that I think we desperately need is a capital improvement plan. I had a conversation one time, and I was like, we can't even say exactly what we've got coming down the pipeline in terms of capital improvements. I have questions sometimes about a property tax. Will it go up? Will it go down? And I'm like, well, we're running a $3 million surplus on average. So it's hard for me to say that we need a $2 million property tax in place when I can't justify it with a capital improvement plan. So I think that has to be one of the things that takes place immediately. And I know sometimes right now you'll hear the board say, we don't need another plan, this, that, and the other, and they sit on there. But I think we do need to go back and readdress some of these things. Do need to get some plans in place on those. Capital improvement plan is huge for setting our priorities for what we're going to do as a city. The other one is just streamlining processes from the planning standpoint. We have a signed ordinance that's longer than the U.S. Constitution. There's no excuse for that. And really, the other thing we need to get a 5-year plan in place for all of our departments, know where they are, and get that lined up with our capital improvement plan.
Well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's at least one of those plans that is on the Board of Commissioners meeting agenda for this evening to either be funded or turned down, one or the other. But
Parks improvement, our parks plan, yes.
And great. Speaking of parks, there's been some activity, perhaps more activity, for growing available park space inside the city limits in the last 90 days, 120 days than there has been in quite some time. Can you share with us a little bit of what you see coming down the road, opportunities, and also some of the challenges with what's being presented? Definitely.
I've served on the Parks Board for several years now, and the main challenge the Parks Board has always faced is the amount of land that we have available in the city. And it's not that the city doesn't have land, it's just a lot of the land is, outside the budget of the city of Mount Juliet to acquire. So the hotel motel funding, which is the taxes paid by people visiting the city, that's earmarked in the general fund for parks purchases. We've reached a point now at the balance of the fund has allowed us to pursue some of these lands. I put together a resolution earlier on that, was looking at Windtree Trace Golf Course as possibly purchasing that. Once that kind of got on the table, there was some other people suggested some other lands that were out there. I think we started out with 4, and at the last meeting we had 12, and we just put the call out on it. It's like once we started looking, and I think people found out the city had a little budget to finally do something, a lot of people come forward with some land on it. So we probably really got about 2, 3, maybe 4 contenders far as land. We may be getting the cart in front of the horse there a little bit on one of the property on South Rutland Road. I think we're really looking to overpay on that one if we move forward tonight, but I'm hoping we can tap the brakes on that one and take a more structured approach to what we're looking for on it. We did recently secure the property off Tate Lane, which is going to be used for fields, and that's also going to double as a trailhead. Of course, 1 week from today, next Monday, well, depends on when this airs, Mark, but next Monday, we are going to have the ribbon cutting for the Town Center Trail. So you're starting to see a lot of things come together. A lot of those pieces get connected on that thing, and we're structured to move. We just got to be very purposeful about how we make those moves and what we do with it. And I think that park study is going to go a long way as far as bringing the pieces together.
Well, I saw a very enthusiastic and willing to serve at the request of whatever the commissioners wants, but our parks director, Rocky Lee, he is chomping at the bit to go. He wants to do it the right way and be transparent. Yes. And with enthusiasm like that, I got a feeling we'll be seeing even bigger things from our parks department. So excited about that. Let's take the last just couple of minutes, if we could, ask the candidates that I speak with. We're growing. There's people moving in here all the time. There's reasons why, and they're not moving into a community that is a dumpster fire and has all kinds of problems. They're moving here because of the great things we have going on. And if you'd kind of wrap up your remarks with some of the reasons why you think people are so excited to be here, whatever that might be, and then some wishes and a message about why you want people to vote for you for mayor in the upcoming election.
Well, certainly, Mark. I think the same thing that brought me to this city originally is a lot of the reasons that people are wanting to come here. It's proximity to Nashville, access to the airport, and it's just a wonderful community overall. It's a great place to raise a family. I don't think it's any accident that Mount Juliet winds up being ranked as the 3rd friendliest city in the state, one of the safest cities in the state. We got one of the healthiest housing markets. And then, of course, the Beacon Center showed us as one of the lowest overall cost of government, so we keep the costs down. And then recently, Money Magazine ranked us as the 22nd best place to live in the United States. So that's quite an honor. I posted that one and put the hashtag on there, Proud Vice Mayor. And, we like to say these things, they don't happen by accident inside the city. I'm hesitant as an elected official to take credit for everything on that thing because I know it's not the case. I know we have a community that's got great people in here. It's a wise community, and they've chosen some leaders to get in here and do the right thing and have held us accountable through this. We got a great school system. We've got a great school system, wonderful things, and wonderful families that really make this the community that we want to call home. I always say when my time is finished on the Board of Commissioners, I will know if it was successful, because if my children see Mount Juliet as a place that they want to come live at the end of that time, I'll know I did a good job at that point. They're in high school now, so that point is getting closer every year. So we continue to work and move forward to that. I've served on the Board of Commissioners now for almost 10 years, 9 years of that as Vice Mayor. And we've been very purposeful about the decisions that we made to try to keep the standards in place to protect the property values of people that have chosen to invest in Mount Juliet. I think one of the last gaps that we've got to close is just the white collar jobs, bringing in the jobs that whether it's technical jobs, medical, just want to see some diversity in the job market in here. People shouldn't be like me who have to commute in the daytime when they're not on lockdown, at least working from home, commute to Franklin to find the quality jobs that we have. We've got so many synergies that we could be building off that as we continue to build out and grow those areas in the city. But, Mark, I've been honored to serve, and I'll take this opportunity now just to ask everyone for their vote and support as we move forward in November. And I appreciate you as well taking this and hosting it and taking the time to get these and put them together for everyone. This is not a small undertaking to round up 10 or 12 candidates to get these together.
Hey, everybody has been very cooperative, and they jumped in there to humor me. And Marla and I have just kind of taken this on, and it's mutually beneficial. James, for those folks that want to learn a bit more, maybe they want to contact you, you share with us a real quick. There it is, perfect right there, folks. This is being recorded, so you can take a look at it. Vice Mayor Maness, it's been a pleasure spending some time with you this morning. On behalf of everybody, thank you for your time. Best of luck in the campaign to you. Early voting starts October the 14th. Please, everyone, go out and exercise your right to vote. If you miss the early voting, Election Day, November 3rd. Thank you for all you do. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks.